24 hours ago, we start the show saying, you can't do what you're going to do. We're like, you can't do it. You cannot go out there against Emerson Hancock. I can't even say this guy's name. And you can't look lifeless in a game you just got to get. And I'm not saying you win last night, by the way, and they like win the World Series. I mean, who knows what it even means, but it keeps you down that path. To play like they did yesterday, and then we'll get to Soto, but just to play like they did yesterday, Jim, it's all too predictable, even though it's the last thing in the world they could have done. And they did it.
So
again.
I actually went back and I listened to our opening segment.
Yeah.
After we did the wrap-up show last night and after the game, we predicted it to a T.
Right.
We said everything that would happen yesterday, and it happened. And then the quotes come out. And this happened after the wrap-up show. We didn't get to talk about it there. But I look at these quotes and throughout this year when they've had bad losing streaks or, times where it seemed like it was over, I wasn't officially ready to say it's over. I said it feels like it's over.
Uh-oh.
It feels like it's over.
All right. Go on.
They gave me a reason to say it's over today. And that reason is they admit they quit. Juan Soto, the quotes that he had last night,
unbelievable,
were so shocking that it's hard not to say, yeah, it's over. When you admit you quit, how are you supposed to, in any good faith, still have hope as a fan? We cover this team every day, every year,
literally
every day, 365, 24/7. We cover the Padres, right? That's the number one.
Yep.
And how are we supposed to have hope? And how is the fan base supposed to have hope when you see quotes like this? You want to read these quotes?
Yeah,
you've heard them, amazing.
Let me just read them. And let me just get to like the nitty gritty. We got to play as a team. Okay.
No, read the whole thing.
Okay. We've got to play as a team. We've got to go out there, grind every day, grind every at bat. It's been really inconsistent. Some days we do, some days we don't. We got to do it every day. Days like this series, we just give up. And by the way, days like this series is multiple days.
Plural.
Like literally, he doubles down on this. Like literally, we just give up instead of keep grinding, keep pushing. We've got to forget about yesterday and keep moving. This is Juan Soto postgame. Let me just chime in here for a second.
No, we did. Not only did we quit, we really quit.
And now I'm supposed to have faith to your point that they're going to all of a sudden, point this thing in the right direction. It's a captainless ship.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I just put down 5 or 6 things. There are literally 24 or more examples of a leadership issue and a clubhouse issue all year long. It was in April, I want to say, maybe early May. They're laughing in the dugout at Dodger Stadium, down 5 runs in the 9th inning, about to get swept with 2 outs in the 9th.
Strike one.
Okay. Then Bob Melvin in May calls out his team.
Strike 2.
Then Joe Musgrove repeatedly, probably May, July, August, has asked for urgency.
Foul ball.
He then went back to that and said, we need to show humility and put our egos aside and play for the name on the front of our jerseys, not the back.
Should have been strike 3, but the called it a ball.
And now Juan Soto literally said they're literally quitting.
Strike 3, you're out.
And there's so many more examples. And by the way, I mean, does anyone think that they haven't quit if you've been watching? That's the
yeah.
This kind of confirms our worst fears from even like April, May, June.
At least there's honesty here. And at least now, as I'm sure the fans have felt and we have felt, we don't feel crazy.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do as a member of the media or a fan or whatever is say, like, yeah, they quit without any factual proof to it.
It's such a strong statement.
It is. And
we fought it in 2021 until we had to say it.
And now there's been a couple of years later, it's like we have to say they quit because, I mean, come on. Like 2019 and 2021, those teams, the longer the time goes on, we know they quit.
But now this team is saying it. So that's kind of given us the ability to do the same thing, right? I mean, this is literally one of their stars.
They literally quit, John.
They literally quit. Not even figuratively.
It's literally gave up. Giving up is quitting. And so when it's now in print, when you can factually see the words that are said by a player on that team, and not just any player. Like Juan Soto is one of the best players in baseball. He's arguably at his best, the best player on this team. And he's had the most consistent year. I would maybe now argue that Ha-Seong Kim's the best Padre at this moment in time.
He's had a great year.
Which is amazing to say.
It's amazing.
With the players they have on it.
Yep.
But Juan Soto's the all-star. He's got the 900-plus OPS. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the guy, right?
Yep.
He's a superstar. When you have a superstar player on your team admitting we gave up, that is all I need to know about the 2023 Padres going forward. There might be a stretch where they win 5 in a row. Hell, they might not. They might have a stretch where they get within a couple games of the wild card. But you know what? When you tell me something that kind of I feel like I already know, there's no way in hell when you get, if they do get close to a wild card spot here or have a little bit of a better stretch, or maybe they go and sweep Arizona this weekend, you admitted you quit. So you have that in your back pocket all the time. So you are very capable of quitting again.
That's a good point. Who's with Jim? And by the way, I tend to more agree than not agree. I don't know if I'm willing to go as far as saying it's fully over. But do you think it's fully over? Based on what Juan Soto has said and the series of events. 844-570-1360 if you want to weigh in. 844-570-1360, or you can text us, of course. 70470. You can start your message with team. I hate to do what I'm about to do, but you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, you're going to do that?
I'm not. I mean, listen, all the writing, it's
factual. I know what you're going to say. It's
not
factual.
Only is the writing on the wall, they're out of ink. They already wrote the story. The obituary is being written for us in season because you're getting quotes like this from the Musgroves and the Sotos.
They have that pen that has a little bit of ink left in it, and they're trying to get some ink out of it.
It's already out.
It's already out.
They are who they are.
Yeah.
And that's what we said even at the trade deadline. And I get them investing at the deadline. I do. Mm-hmm. Even though I wasn't advising for it, I'm not going to rip them for doing it. I'm really not.
I understand it. And
I get it.
Yeah. It just...
With all that being said, the reason I'm not going to say hook, line, sinker, done, finish, they quit, I'm quitting on them, is I know what you just said. If they sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks, everyone's going to perk up. And everyone's going to say, wow, they passed the Diamondbacks in the standings. Mm-hmm. They're within a game of Miami. They're 2 games behind the Chicago Cubs. The reason I'm not going to do it is because I've always been like a math guy. And I look up and I look at the standings and they're 4 1/2 games out of a playoff spot. Now, it's becoming more and more unlikely by the day. American League, I'm done. We can talk about preseason week 1 and this big Steelers-Jags game or whatever is tonight. But because it's the National League, because it's the National League and because they're just a series away, I can't fully do it as of yet. What I do hate, by the way, here's the one other thing I hate. These quotes out of the clubhouse that are still coming, even after the players-only meeting, not just from Soto, and I'm with you. I give him credit for being honest, but he also led us somewhere that basically says they can't get out of it. Mm-hmm. But when I see quotes from like the Xander Bogaerts of the world, who I think's been good with the media, but when I see the, hey, we got enough talent in here to win.
And then he's basically saying the guy that was on the mound tonight, and he's done it multiple times this year, previously versus the Nationals. He's like, he's okay. It's okay. He's whatever. Xander, bro. You have 37 RBIs on the year. You have 2 RBIs in the last month, and you have 1 home run in the last month and a half.
Right. Don't be criticizing someone else.
You're the last person to criticize a pitcher for being just, okay.
He said last night, Xander Bogaerts, it's not like he had anything special. I mean,
you went over, right? Or you maybe had 1 hit. Congratulations.
He did have a hit last night, but it's like you scored 1 run in the game. You scored 1 run in the series. San Diego scored 1 run in the series. They were, I think, 0 for 11 with men in scoring position in the series.
That quote would be okay if Xander's having a really good year.
Sure.
You're like, well, Xander's having a good year and he might have just had an off night. Xander, you are having the worst year of your career. You are arguably one of the worst offseason signings in all of baseball this year. To say those things about another guy making his major league debut and he goes out there and shoves against you guys, 5 innings, 1 run, 2 hits. That to me is we're talking about Bush League with this team, right? Them calling the Dodgers Bush League. I think that's Bush League.
Well, what about the idea also, and I agree with you, I didn't like that quote, but what about this idea, these quotes that keep coming out? Hey, we don't even need to add at the deadline. We have all the talent we need in here. And then even last night, we're capable of doing this. We know we're playing a lot of teams in front of us over the next month, but we have all the talent in the world. Like this idea, it's such a fallacy. We know this with professional sports. The idea that talent wins out. Like the idea that you can have this bad culture, you can have a bad clubhouse, you can have guys pulling in different directions, but we're just more talented than them. Do I think the New England Patriots have been really good because of the sheer level of talent, or because they all pull in the same direction routinely? And that's not. It goes on and on and on, right? I mean, I hate to do it, but I'll even say like the LA Dodgers. Do I think that they only do it because of talent, or do I think they do it because of talent and because of culture? But the Padres culture, this for me is top-down stuff, Jim. Mm-hmm. When one of your leaders like Juan Soto is like, I got nothing to say. We've quit. And it's almost like he's pleading for help. We've quit. Someone please point us in the right direction. And who nobody is there to save them.
And one thing you didn't put in your rundown of things that have happened this year. Remember when Nelson Cruz was quoted saying, amazing. Yeah, I'm just like asking across the clubhouse, hey, Jake, do you know what's wrong? And then Jake responds, nope, I have no clue. Hey, Xander, do you know what's wrong? No, I got nothing for you. Like that literally was a quote from this team saying they were like talking to each other in the clubhouse, asking each other what they think is wrong, and no one had an answer.
That was an amazing quote. We're like, and he was quoted literally in saying that. Kevin's like, I asked Nelson Cruz what the issue with the team was, and he literally shouted across the clubhouse and asked everyone if they knew what the issue was, and they all also didn't know what the issue was. I always believe this. I've heard it from and I think there's a lot to be learned from San Diego State basketball and apply it to the Padres. I think there's a lot to be learned historically from San Diego State football over the last decade and apply it to the Padres. Player-led teams are better than coach-led teams. So you might say this is how Bob Melvin. He's the manager. He's the captain. Guys, he's got a $300 million payroll. He's got 30-year-olds in the prime of their career. You're telling me Melvin's got to get Machado going, or Machado's got to get the team going?
This team all year long, and I haven't said this year, they're all talk. I haven't said that one time this season. They're all talk. And the team meetings they've had multiple closed-door team meetings. This is not the first one. It'd be different if it was the first one. Then I maybe say, okay, we'll see how they respond. Well, guess how they've responded to the previous team meetings, closed-door meetings? Not well.
Right.
So why should I think that another closed-door meeting with Manny Machado probably screaming at people or whatever he's doing in there, right? Because he's the one that called it. Why am I supposed to think this is going to be any better? Like, why? Give me a reason, because you don't have any.
It's such a boy who cried wolf situation.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. It's like Bob Melvin calls out his team unapologetically, essentially, and then he went softer in tone over a period of 6 weeks. None of it worked. He went hard at them. He went soft at them. Joe Musgrove has done it. Others have done it, and nothing has worked. No. And there's no reason to believe after 115 games anything is going to work. And at the end of the day, where do you point the blame? I want to just point it everywhere. It's all over this organization.
Mm-hmm. It's all over the organization. The autopsy on this team at the end of the year is going to be fascinating. And I the way that they're going right now, when we talked about it, and I said that if this happens, Preller needs to be gone, is that the scapegoat's going to be Bob Melvin. And Preller's going to have an opportunity to hire his fourth different manager in his 9 years as GM.
Let's talk more about that coming up at 3:30. I want to hear from Ken Rosenthal. We have the sound, right? Ken Rosenthal, I could look at the tweet. I forget where this was, Jim. Let me find out. This was on a podcast, maybe? This was part of Foul Territory TV. Everyone knows Foul Territory TV.
I watch it all the time.
So it's not just Juan Soto saying, hey, we've literally quit. It's not just me and Jim saying, hey, they got a clubhouse culture issue. Listen to Ken Rosenthal on Foul Territory TV.
I've heard various things about that clubhouse throughout the season. Up, down, this, that. I don't know exactly what's going on there and what has gone on there. I saw Juan Soto's quote from last night, basically saying they quit on the series. I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't exactly that way, but that's essentially what the gist was. They've had a number of team meetings, players only, and it just seems that for whatever reason, they cannot get it going. Now, I can say this with some confidence, having covered a lot of losing teams in my career. When a team is losing, when it's going through what the Padres are going through, underperforming, well below expectations, there are going to be some things going on in the clubhouse. So I'm confident there are some things going on in the clubhouse. I just don't know exactly what they are.
And these are things we've said, by the way, for months, that
Mhm.
when you aren't good, that's when you really need good leadership.
Yeah. And we've heard things, and you can see it with your own two eyes, and it's been reported on multiple times. And when you have quotes from the leader of your team and Joe Musgrove talking about egos, like, come on, man, you put two and two together here. It's not that hard. You watch what's going on the field. You hear stuff like, remember the quote this year? I forget who it was from. Maybe it was Soto or Manny or I forget. We need to start helping each other. We need to start like talking to each other in the dugout.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's a bad sign. That's a red flag. That's a red flag for me when you got that quote coming out about how they need to start helping each other. Like, you should just want to help your teammate, but they don't, because this team is filled with a bunch of egos that don't mesh well together.
No, I mean, they don't. And there's really nothing else to be said about it. It's like they are who they are until they prove us, until they prove otherwise. And when you hear someone like Juan Soto say that they've quit or that they do quit, there's no reason to believe anything changes. And to your point, we'll talk more about it at 3:30. It's like, I mean, can you really try to go about this again in 2024 by, we're going to bring in a new manager and we're going to bring back the core? And I mean, I don't even know how they're going to sell it. I really have no idea how they're going to sell it.
I don't either. The looking in the mirror after the end of the season has to be a tough conversation. It has to be. This whole AJ Preller is like the greatest thing ever to ever happen to baseball. Can't be said.
What'd you say last night when we were in the wrap-up show and we eventually got around to talking about eyewash? How you were basically saying, hey, this team, well, basically this team's all talk.
That's what I said. Yeah, they're all talk. They have done it all year long as far as talking, starting from FanFest.
Right, we're going to win the World Series in 5 games.
Juan Soto, we don't care about the Dodgers, right? Also quotes like, hey, other pitchers are going to be scared of us. Manny Machado, just look at the back of our baseball cards. Also from Manny, you better jump on the bandwagon now, because when we start effing raking, you're going to be upset that you're not on with us. Just a bunch of different times this year where they have said things about how they're going to perform and they haven't done it yet. And in fact, it's been a disaster. So yeah, they're all talk. They are 100% all talk. They can't back it up. And when you have one of your best players on the team say you quit and you gave up, then why should the fans have any hope?
These 2 games in Seattle were literally like going through the motions games. And remember when Manny wore that t-shirt a couple years ago where he said, like, what did it say? No eyewash, maybe?
No eyewash, yeah.
But this basically was eyewash.
It was.
Is it not right that the idea that basically what they're doing is all for show, but they're not really doing it collectively or trying hard? You could not have watched these last 2 games and tell me that, they were doing everything in their power to win and that they were having good at bats and that they were pulling all on the same rope, right? All these cliches. You can't look back on those 2 games and tell me that they gave it full effort. And you look at the quotes after this 20-minute players only meeting, and it's Soto and it's Bogarts and it's Cronenworth. And by the way, I don't know what Joe Musgrove is trying to get back for.
That's a great point. And I saw today in Kevin's article, the updated timeline is maybe mid-September.
No, you know what the upgraded timeline is?
2024.
Unless they win, unless they stop with all this, unless they look like a team that's capable, then Joe, take it easy, man.
Yeah, don't ruin your career, man.
Don't rush back to go be a part of this.
Yeah.
Rush back to be a part of something that turns around from this, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah,
at this point.
Every day that goes by, I cringe at the thought of Musgrove pitching again this season.